Welcome to the ProLinks Podcast, where we sit down with entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals to uncover the stories behind their success, the spaces that they operate in, and how they're building for the future. Real talk, real stories, and real estate, all in one place. We're your host, Adam Lee.
Andy Chia.
And today's guest has been in the real estate industry in various aspects for his entire career. From real estate brokering, to structured finance, to CMBS ratings, to construction management, business development, and now a real estate developer. Kevin Kong, a managing partner of the Leeboy Group, joins us today on episode 4 of the ProLinks Podcast. Kevin, thank you for your time today and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on the ProLinks Podcast. I'm thrilled to be here because I've known Adam and Lillian forever. And, throughout the years, I've seen the entrepreneurial successes that Adam has had. But just watching them build out this ProLinks platform has been the most exciting one yet. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this.
The invaluable support our guests and viewers have shown us means the world to us. Andy and I are extremely lucky to be able to tap our closest friends within the industry to kick off our podcast. Kevin is one of my closest friends where our careers have consistently intertwined in a way we both have supported each other. Through the career pivots, expansions, and new endeavors, Kevin has courageously made the necessary leaps in his career to ultimately reach the dream of becoming an investor and real estate developer. Today, we get a glimpse into that journey and mindset that led him to who he is today. So Kevin, let's dive in and start with a bit about your upbringings. Where did you grow up and how do you believe those early days shaped your real estate interest and ambitions?
So I grew up in Manhattan's Chinatown in a multi-generational home. My father was a chef and my mother worked for a garment factory. She worked from home so she can keep an eye out on me and my brothers. I have 2 older brothers, so with our family of 5, plus my grandparents, it was 7 of us inside a railroad-style 1-bedroom tenement apartment. So I think living in tight quarters probably put me down the path of the real estate industry because I really wanted to know how to buy a house and build a home. During my final year in college, a lot of my friends, they landed really great jobs in finance. Working for investment banks and management consulting firms. But I was looking for something a little bit more practical. Around that time, a close friend of mine told me that he was planning to move to Philadelphia. The real estate market over there was really hot at the time, and he decided that he wanted to start up his own real estate brokerage. So he asked me if I would join him to help set up shop. And I said, say no more. I packed my bags on graduation day and I drove straight down to Philadelphia. That first year, I purchased my first 2 houses.
Well, I remember when I started as a real estate agent, this is well back, same thing. I was interested in how to purchase a home. I want to find out the process, and the only way to learn is actually getting into the business. And can you tell us what happened after you went to Philly?
So that time when I was purchasing my second home, I actually showed up to the closing table without any money. In fact, I walked away from that closing table with a check for a couple $100s.
Oh.
So the way I purchased that home was through 105% financing. This was circa 2005 when that was a product, right?
Wow.
I was really stoked about purchasing my second home, but for the life of me, I didn't understand why anybody would allow a recent college graduate with negative net worth to purchase 2 houses. That led to a sale that I did to a young single mother who purchased a home and that she had no business purchasing because of her poor credit score and financial situation. So all these things kind of got me curious about real estate finance. In the conversations that I had with friends about this topic, that led me back to New York with a new job in commercial mortgage-backed securities. So that's how I got back to New York and into the corporate environment.
Nice. So Kev was the reason I joined the fraternity. Together, we built the very beginnings of our Binghamton chapter alongside our pledge classes. And I can confidently say that we were shaped by our experience in learning how to promote and build our organization in college that carried over in our early years of our career. A lot of us supported each other in our endeavors and still do today. And a part of me wants to take a tiny bit of credit for what happened after the MBA and real estate finance world, but I'll let you tell that story, Kev.
So after nearly a decade of being in a corporate environment, I was really itching to get back into an entrepreneurial environment where I can have the freedom to kind of pave my own path. I gathered all the courage I could at the time, and I decided to walk away from my cushy job to give a crack at construction, right? Because I was hoping that one day I can develop my own project. So I made that jump. And a close friend of mine partnered up with me, and we set up our own construction management firm. One of our first partnerships was actually with Adam's contracting company at the time, 360, and we tried to partner up to bid on a lot of mid-sized projects. Yep. Eventually, Adam's company was a little bit more focused on high-end residential projects, and our group, we started working on more mechanical, electrical, and plumbing contracts. So we kind of went our own paths. That's where I got involved in some larger scale projects. One of the larger contracts that we were awarded was to help build 500 keys across 3 hotels in Manhattan. And our biggest client was that MEP contractor. So the interesting thing is that MEP contractor had a partner who around that time had won the bid to acquire an entire city block in South Brooklyn. And that gentleman was Leeboy. So when I caught wind of this, I went to Leeboy and I said, hey, listen, you can't do the project on your own. You need me to help you, It took a little convincing, but eventually I talked him into allowing me to join his team. And we never looked back since, and that's kind of how the Dyker Gardens and Dyker Tower came about.
So you end up teaming up with the largest builders in Brooklyn right before the pandemic happens, and you thrown into massive project during one of the most disruptive times New York City has seen. How did you manage to learn and adapt so quickly into your role?
Developing during the pandemic had a really unique challenge. It was during a time when there was a lot of uncertainty and fear. Mm-hmm. But the way we tried to adapt to that is we tried to focus on the things that we can control, right? We knew what we needed to do with this project. So what we did was we set up a large army of workers, close to 200 people every day on the project. And we built that project like it was a factory. And we had a whole system set up, and that's why we were able to do it in less than 18 months. That's part of the adapting to the situation and the challenges.
Yeah, that's quite impressive. Like finish a big project within 18 months, you said, and during the pandemic time, that's unheard of.
It was insane. So I still remember those early days in 2019, right? Like it was yesterday. Being the great friend that Kevin has always been, you introduced me to Leeboy during that time when you guys just started Dyker Gardens. And for our viewers, Dyker Gardens is a massive 140 unit apartment luxury condo building in Dyker Heights. And eventually you got my GC company involved and my material distribution company. And we ended up supplying all the kitchen cabinetry, flooring, tile, stones, right? And some custom millwork. And, we got to install some of those finishes in the entire project. And to this day, I'm still forever grateful for you and Lee for getting us involved, right? As that allowed me to work on other large projects and developments in Flushing. But what I wanted to acknowledge for our viewers is you were essentially second in command managing alongside Lee, and you were just starting out at that time, right? And timing and efficiency and speed is the key in any development, right? So any unsolved problems or hiccups could be detrimental. What would you say are the biggest strengths you and Lee possess in continually operating at this high of a level?
Well, Leeboy is a mentor, and he's wise beyond his years. He's a great leader, and he understood the most important part of his role was to create a vision for the team and create direction, right? And I understood my role as the person that had to gather the troops to focus on the directives and realize the vision, right? So that's kind of how we partnered up and made this happen in the amount of time that we did.
A few weeks ago, Ad and I had the opportunity to visit a few of your sites that the Leeboy Group has been working on for the past 4 years. And I must say, they were extremely large and impressive. From the Dyker Gardens to your recent completed charter school right next door, to the upcoming commercial building on the 8th Avenue, they are all extraordinary projects that truly transform the neighborhood that they are in. We spent that day creating drawings and worked through videos of all the spaces. And I heard when we sent the edited video clips of each building to you, your reaction came with a sort of a sigh of relief. What emotion came about when you saw these videos?
At the time when Adam had shared those finished videos with me, I actually forwarded it to my wife, right? And she said, "Oh, Adam had already shared this with me." And she said, when I saw the videos, I had a tear come down my eye because it just kind of sums up all the literal blood, sweat, tears, and sacrifices that we had over the past 5 years. And it was all summed up in 3 videos. So I told Adam, I said, "Hey, I didn't realize that this is what I needed. This is like a great way to kind of summarize, all that we've gone through, all that we've been through over the past 5 years."
I know timing can be very stressful. Back in 2007, I started business with a group of friends of mine doing heavy constructions, specializing in demolition, excavation, sheeting, and shoring. We had to sign contracts with deadlines, and penalties were hefty. And I want to ask you how common you see these contracts in the development world.
These are the types of issues that are very common in the construction industry. I mean, the way that Leeboy and I approach it is, instead of working with penalties, we work with rewards. We try to incentivize people to accomplish what they need to accomplish within a certain amount of time, and that usually is pretty effective for what we do. And we continue to use that strategy.
I've always known you as the person who, no matter what challenges you face, you're never the one to complain and mope around. Instead, you're always looking for solutions, and you try to see the positive perspective, even when you find yourself in the dirt and concrete, like literally, right? You carry a lot on your shoulders at times, but I truly believe that behind every strong person is a stronger support system behind you. And that is your wife and your family. You have 3 amazing boys that remind you every day why you push yourself to be better. Family is so important, and I always ask this question in our podcast because so many of us wear so many different hats as husband, as father, as son, and as a leader in your organization. How do you balance being a leader at work and at home?
Behind every they say behind every strong man, there's a strong woman. So my wife tells me I don't tell her enough. So this is probably a good opportunity for me. My wife has given me, has made a lot of sacrifices to give me this opportunity to do the things that I need to do. Right. And, she's carried a lot of the weight at home, and I recognize that. It's part of working as a team. Right. And whether it's at home or at work, you have to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes you have to give a little to see the other person get to where they need to go, and vice versa. So that's just the team dynamic that we work with, and it works both at work and at home.
So most people who don't have the luxury of working from home spend more hours in the day with their coworkers, vendors, and teammates. Essentially, they have also become like a family within your organization. As a co-leader of the Leeboy Group family, can you share with us that the direction you both share for the next 3 to 5 years? Or maybe where do you see the New York commercial real estate market heading to?
The New York real estate market is very unique. As with many things, it's driven by the administration and what the government is looking to do. Right. And especially in a year where there may be a change in administrations, it's to be seen, right? How the real estate market will change. Right. But I think one thing is for sure, affordable housing development is really strong now, and I believe it will continue to be for the next 3 to 5 years. We believe that with with the logistical problems that we're dealing with politically in the world, warehousing is another strong sector. We're actually working on a sizable warehousing project, specifically refrigerated space in Staten Island. So I think that has a lot of potential. There's a lot of demand for that, and I think it'll continue to be strong in the next couple of years.
As a developer, the Leeboy Group is typically the GP, which stands for the general partner. Your role is to provide the vision of the project, acquire the initial land or property, and build something larger that contributes to the supply of facilities that's in demand for that particular location, right? So most large development projects consist of limited partners who are essentially investors lending their money to join in the same vision of the project that are incentivized with a structured profit margin over the period of the project. Now, as the general partner, you're not only the builder and leader of the project, but you're essentially playing a fiduciary role to your limited partners and have structured guidelines on how you manage money that they've invested in your project. We were on a trip together earlier this year, and you said something profound to me that stood out. You said that in your role, your positive impact as a developer was not just about how well the next project is built but how it can positively grow the community and how well you can be a custodian of other people's money. Now, what does it mean to be a good custodian of your investors' money?
Now, a lot of successful billionaires have kind of used this quote in one way or another, so I'm not quoting anybody in particular, but they say that, if you have $100, it's your money. If you have $1,000, it's your money. If you have $100,000, it's your money. $1 million could be your money, but when you start to have 10 million, 100 million, and 1 billion, it's not money that you have. It's the trust of the community that they have in you to handle that money. That is kind of how we look at being a custodian of other people's money.
Let's talk about community for a sec. You guys just finished a massive charter school that has just launched and opened its door to its student. Can you share how this project came about and what were the biggest challenges that could educate our viewers?
I'm really excited to announce that in recent weeks, we received a certificate of occupancy for this charter school project that we're working on.
Congrats.
Thank you. It's a 55,000 square foot charter school that we built out specifically for the school. We only had about a year to do it because we signed the lease about a year ago. And it was a really tight deadline that we have. This is actually the first week that the students were in the school. So we're really excited to have met that deadline and to make sure that the students were able to start their program on time. The charter school was an interesting challenge. It kind of highlights some of the unique projects that we are working on and continue to work on. And
you have been mentored and guided by one of the most successful developers in Brooklyn community. What are some of the most important lessons Leeboy has taught you?
Leeboy and I have a lot of deep conversations, and usually it's around game theory or the art of war. And
Art of war.
Yeah,
wow.
he likes to use a lot of Chinese metaphors to describe a lot of the things that we experience, the things that are going on, and how to deal with problems, right? That's one of the ways we kind of have a little bit of fun with the way we handle our projects. Whenever we're presented with a situation, Leeboy likes to describe it as if we were in a battlefield and to understand what the consequences are for each move that we make. And usually when we use that kind of metaphorical analysis, it kind of helps guide us through these issues.
Yeah, it's super accurate.
And find resolutions.
Yeah, business is like war, right? I didn't mean to cut you off, but like everything kind of is a battlefield, right? And it's not really not necessarily in a way of like, competition, one side kills the other side, right? But there's always a challenge that needs to be overcome. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, that's perfect. And that's one of the things that I feel like Leeboy has had a great influence on me. And one of the most important things I've learned from him, right, to how to handle situations and how to relate the situation to a different situation, on how we can understand the problem and make a decision on how to resolve it, right?
So we had an opportunity to visit your project at 8th Avenue. Can you share a little bit about your vision about that project?
You know, the 8th Avenue project is one that we're really excited about because it's our flagship development. It's in a really prime location on 8th Avenue and 65th Street with high visibility, great access. That is going to be our newest commercial building. We topped off on that about a month back, and we're kind of finishing up the facade now. We're currently speaking with several commercial banks that want to occupy the retail spaces. If anybody else is interested in the retail spaces, you guys know who to call. ProLinks, number below.
Oh, thanks.
Yes. All right. So this part of the show, we're going to go off the cuff, right? We're going to start asking you random questions, and it's going to give the viewer a little bit of insight about, your mindset, right? And they're quick answers, and it's however you want to answer them. If you don't like the question, you could say pass, but none of our guests have ever passed. So let's start with the first question. Andy, you can go first.
Okay. Was something you believed for way too long? Something you believed for way too long.
Wow. Okay, man, this cuts deep. It's something that I believed for way too long was that, if you do the right things, then the things that you want will come to you. But now my vision is a little bit different. I see it as, if it's something you want, you got to just go get it. Right. So that's a little bit more proactive approach that I've been taking since I came to that realization.
I love that. Yeah.
I want to touch a little bit about when Kevin was saying that he approached Leeboy because he wanted to become the partner. He was reaching out, talk to Leeboy that he want to get in that project, and Leeboy become his mentor. And now they are, partner, of course. You need to have that approach. You see something you want to chase afterward, you go for it. Even though, rejection might come from Leeboy. Hey, you're not the guy. I don't want to be your partner. But reaching out, having the first step.
That's a good example.
Very
That's
important.
a good example because he actually rejected me once. He's like, no, I don't think I need any help. I think I can do it on my own. That's why I said it took a little convincing, but got to be persistent. You got to go get it.
How do you convince him? You want to give a little tip?
Actually elaborate on that. Like, did you break out Art of War and then take out a quote there and then say something that kind of like triggered it, or like walk us through that?
I told him a little bit about my background, and I was involved with, before that happened, I was involved with him on a different project, right? That was like HVAC related. It didn't really have anything to do with construction, right? So he had no idea that I had a real estate background. So I had to tell him about it. I say, hey, this is what I did for a living before, the HVAC stuff. So you can use my help. I can help make this easier for you. You can't handle it, all on your own. This is a large scale project. So a little bit of that eventually convinced him, or maybe he got annoyed that I kept showing up at his office.
Yeah, but that persistence, paid off, right?
But I want to know. You said he rejected you the first time, right? What was your mindset going to the second time? Say, hey. Expecting that he was going to reject you for the second time, but your mindset during that time say, hey, I'm going to try this again. It might work, it might not work.
The way to look at it is we can't be afraid of rejection, right? Because that first time that I went there and I asked him, I didn't expect him to say yes. I actually told my wife I before I left the house, this was during the pandemic, I said, hey, I'm gonna go visit Leeboy. I need to convince him that he needs to get me involved in this. I don't think he's gonna let me do it, but let's see what he says, right? So I went out there, I spoke to him, I got feedback, which is the important thing, right? I don't mind rejection as long as you give me feedback, because then I can go back and think about how to address your concerns, right? So that's one thing that we should always keep in mind, right? Rejection is not a bad thing if you're getting the right feedback for your next approach.
Were you nervous?
Was I nervous? No.
No?
There's nothing to be nervous about. I mean, you know, part of me, like I said, I was maybe expecting the rejection already. So it was more like, hey, reject me, but tell me why, right?
Okay.
I love that. Here's the next question. What is the last compliment you gave somebody? And you can't say...
You can't say us.
You can't say us because obviously you gave us great compliments so far, but...
The last compliment that comes to mind is something that I mentioned earlier. You know, when Adam showed me the videos of the drone videos of the projects, I said to him, I said, hey, I didn't realize that this is something that I needed, right? You know, it gave me a sense of pride. It gave me a little bit of closure on all the blood, sweat, tears, and sacrifices over the past 5 years. And thankfully, it was only summed up in 3 videos. So it was short, sweet, but meaningful. So I said, thank you, Adam. I didn't know I needed this.
Well, it was Andy, Sebastian, Lillian, like we all as a team, you know, want to come out and visit you and capture those beautiful buildings, right? I think you and Lee and your entire team have done an incredible job. Like, I think that's an understatement. In a short period of time and during one of the most disruptive times, you know, especially in New York, right? Through the pandemic, through the changes in commercial real estate and, like you said before, like the changes in legislation and just everything has been so hectic, and you guys done an incredible job to adapt and adjust, right? Which is predominantly what makes you guys so successful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you describe a situation that showed you someone's true colors?
You know, it makes me think back at those deep conversations that I have with Lee regularly about game theory and art of war and actions and reactions and, you know, how to have influence. You know, there were situations that we encountered during these projects where, you know, some people had shown a side of them that we did not expect. You know, when things go tough, sometimes you see true colors, and we've gone through a lot of different tough challenges. But it makes you stronger to understand that the people that you trust are going to be there for you, and the people that you don't know yet may not, right? You know, that's kind of a recent encounter that we had.
Yeah. And like Andy and I actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. Andy and I just made a video yesterday, right? And it talks about those, it talks about like navigating through rough waters. And those are the moments that build the most character, right? In formulating your mindset and reacting to when things are going the unexpected ways, especially when, you know, you've been working with certain people or clients or investors, whoever they may be, and they become difficult or they go a little sideways from what was anticipated or what they promised. And so in those moments, I believe, truly build character for a business person, for just not even just a business person, but just in people in general, right? Because you learn the most from that, not from the easy runs. So thank you for sharing that. I stated before how our fraternity shaped our earlier skill sets of teaching us how to run an organization. My question to you is, would you encourage your boys when they are in college to join a fraternity, and why?
You know, the way we've been raising our boys is, you know, we encourage them to question a lot of things, right? So I don't want to say I want to encourage them to do it because I don't want to force them through a door, but what we do is we try to open the door for them, right? We open the door, we allow for questions, we give them ideas, and we let them make a decision on whether or not it's something they should do. But about the fraternity and any social organization, I think it's really important to be involved at a young age, right? You want to have social circles. You want to be able to understand relationships, right? You want to be able to have influence and get some influence from others. So that's something that, we found a lot of in the fraternity, getting involved, working as a team, and creating results, right? That's what it's all about. And I think a lot of the things that we did as a fraternity can relate to real life situations, whether it's career or just life in general. So to sum it up, I believe that it's a strong foundation. And, I want to say I would encourage them and hopefully they'll find their path and get involved in some social circle in one way or another.
Kev, I want to thank you again for your time and doing this with us today. I just want to share a testimony about our friendship throughout the years. Both Kevin and I have made many pivots in our careers and reached various personal life milestones. And I can't remember a time where Kev was not there for me. You've always been extremely generous with your time and your resources, not only for me, but for everyone close to you. You're truly an inspiration in your personal life and your career, and we wish you nothing but continued success for the future. But before you go, our last question to you is, if you could leave one message to the world, what would it be?
Wow, that's a good one. I believe that we all have more potential than we can utilize. A problem that I see nowadays, especially with maybe some of the younger generations, is that they don't push themselves to do more. We talked about wearing multiple hats. It takes work to wear multiple hats, right? It takes sacrifice. You have to push boundaries to reach levels that we've achieved in our careers, right? And it's one thing that I would, if I were to give advice to younger folks, I would encourage them to try to do more and be more productive, proactive with their time, because there's so much that we can accomplish, and never enough time to accomplish it all, right?
Love that.
Just really great. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you, Adam.